very excited. My son gets to go and learn some more.
For me, I'm very worried.
I feel good. We feel excited to be back. It's been a long time coming.
Students starting their first day, parents sending them back to class, and teachers taking on new COVID-19 challenges. A look at the first day of school for many in Windsor-Essex. Outside today, still waiting on the sun to pop out. 17 degrees right now with flood watches out for the Great Lakes shoreline in Chatham, Kent. Colette Kennedy has the forecast tonight. I'm Chris Hensing. Thanks for joining us. The first day back to school for hundreds of students across Windsor-Essex. A staggered start, so some students begin their year next week. But for today, CBC Sanjay Maru now with a look at the return to the classroom.
I feel good. We feel excited to be back. It's been a long time coming.
The first time since March, to be exact. Here at St. Anne's, students in grades 1 to 3 got to enter a classroom once again.
Very excited. My son gets to go and learn some more. He's been home for a while, so it's time to get them going.
His son Xavier, equipped with a mask and face shield, among the students walked to the school on foot, others coming in off the bus. But the staggered start meant some buses carried upwards of just 5 students.
I have seen other places where they have shut down again, so that's what's gonna, eventually happen if something was to happen. But hopefully everything goes well.
But others aren't as optimistic about seeing children go back to school.
So today was my granddaughter Sanaya's first day at school.
With her name on her backpack, Sanaya started first grade today, excited to see her friends again.
I'm not necessarily sure if the schools have the appropriate equipment to make sure that all the kids are safe.
Inside, students will find distanced desks, arrows to maintain one-way traffic in the halls, and isolation rooms for students showing symptoms.
I don't feel comfortable. I have a grandson that's starting school for the first time next week, and I'm very, very concerned, because 3-year-olds turning 4 have no concept of anything. They just want to play and hang out with their friends.
But the school says enforcement is key.
We can't let that go because it's just too important. It's everybody's safety, and we do anticipate that challenge.
And Sanjay joins us live here now. A good look at how the day started, but now that it's over, how did this all go?
Well, Chris, despite many of the changes, it seems as though things went fairly smoothly. Again, as we saw there, not all students in Windsor-Essex back to class today. For example, here at Dougal Public School, students in grades 1 through 8 with the last names M through Z, they were not in attendance, along with all kindergarten students not in attendance either. So only about half the total student population at this school. But I did have a chance to speak with one of those students in attendance today, just minutes after the final bell rang. She says there were instances today where she would notice her classmates drop their mask. In fact, in one instance, she actually dropped her mask and lost it. Luckily, she had some more in her backpack. And she also says that it was hard for her to connect with some of the other classmates, the new students in her cohort this year, mainly because of the masks and those physical distancing guidelines.
When there wasn't Corona, we could actually walk around, talk to each other, actually go near each other. But now we'll have to wear a mask and we can't go near each other. And we'll have to stay apart and put our masks outside in a pocket. And it's so different because there's so many different things you have to do, so many different rules. I was nervous at first, but then when I actually went into the room, I knew what to do.
Big changes from when they were last in school back in March. But what about teachers? How are they handling the return of students?
Well, a union official, Chris, we spoke with says he's cautiously optimistic about how things went today because of the staggered start approach. It gave teachers time to adjust to this new normal, but that's not to say there weren't hiccups along the way, mainly concerning lunchtime and recess protocols. However, he does say that these issues will be addressed in the coming days.
The big test will be in a week on Wednesday when all of the students come. Today was basically what the union has been asking the government for from the beginning, is smaller class sizes so that we could individualize instruction and keep students separated by that 2-meter distancing. Once all of the students are there, it's going to be a different story.
And officials expect tomorrow to look much like today, considering the staggered start approach will continue to limit the number of students inside schools here in the region. But the union is also saying it's going to continue to appeal to the school board to address some of the ventilation concerns we've been hearing about for quite some time. And it's also going to be appealing to the provincial government for more supports for schools, considering he says there are many classes where they're struggling to maintain that 2-meter distance between desks. Chris.
Thanks for this, Sanjay. Our health unit announced another person has died after testing positive for COVID-19. A man in his 60s died in hospital. He is the 76th person to die in Windsor-Essex after testing positive for COVID. There are also 6 new cases in the area. Half are travel-related. It brings the local total of confirmed cases to 2,569. Early on during the pandemic, officials had to look abroad to find ventilators and PPE to care for the sick. And while they were searching, some domestic businesses, including some here in Windsor, stepped in to help out.
And we just kind of started matching companies up with what was needed. 165 companies volunteered in our space to give it a good look. 77 of them did the due diligence and said, yeah, we can do it. And at my last count, 25 of them got contracted to make everything from ventilators and ventilator parts to gowns, masks, face shields, and test swabs. All of that work has happened over the last 4 or 5 months. Some of it's still outstanding. You know, we're still in production in a whole bunch of the shops. 165 of our members, that's more than half of our members, about 60% of them said, okay, we'll do it. And the untold part of that story is they all the ones that did do it did it without a purchase order initially. They just started their retooling and they said, we'll catch up.
It was very hectic at the very beginning, but we were able to secure the needed ingredients for us to make our hand sanitizer to help the general public. So in total, to date, we have made in excess of 200,000 liters of hand sanitizer for the local Windsor area. We are still continuing to manufacture some hand sanitizer, but the need since March has gone down tremendously.
Now, since the beginning of the COVID-19 restrictions, governments and public health officials have been pushing hard to get prevention guidelines out to the public, but there's some communities where radio, TV, and social media messaging just might not be getting through. So, a member of an Alberta Mennonite community has launched a project to help solve that problem. CBC's Paige Parsons has the details.
Brent Weeb's family members live simply on their rural Alberta property. The conservative Mennonite family doesn't have radio or TV at home. They have internet, but they stay off Facebook and Twitter. Family and community gatherings are the center of their lives, which have been upended by COVID-19. Because of their lifestyle, many Canadian Mennonites face the added challenge of accessing accurate information about COVID-19. Worried his community isn't getting the facts and that COVID fatigue is setting in, Weeb is turning to technology, building a messaging system to distribute public health updates directly to subscribers.
So instead of asking people to go reach out and find this information, we thought, well, maybe we can make it a little easier to bring it right to them.
The updates will come via messaging apps popular with Mennonites, like Telegram or WhatsApp. The information is straight from public health officials, which Weeb says his community is more likely to trust than media sources. He's hopeful he can attract subscribers in Mennonite communities across Canada. A recent Southeast Ontario outbreak hit the Mennonite population there, prompting public outbursts against members of the group. A reaction that's unfair, says this researcher.
Because many of them are communal-minded and communally based, this just presents extra challenges for them. So I think what we do is have to recognize that and work with them to find ways to diminish the likelihood of the virus spread.
It's been hard for Weeb's family to miss out on those community activities during the pandemic. While the technology he is relying on is new, his inspiration comes from Mennonite leaders who dealt with pandemics past.
And he said, it doesn't dishonor God when we use our minds to take preventative measures against disease. He said, it honors him when we use our talents. And so I would like to leave that as kind of This is sort of a Mennonite tradition. It's not wrong to take measures. It doesn't show a lack of faith.
He's hopeful others can also find faith in taking action against COVID-19. Paige Parsons, CBC News, Stettler.
Police asking for help today after hearing a kitten was thrown from a moving vehicle in Essex last week. The kitten later died. Police say that a witness saw a kitten being tossed from a vehicle at a fast food restaurant on Maidstone Avenue last Thursday. Found in the same area a second dead kitten. The local Humane Society says it's troubling to see.
That's obviously a horrible thing to do to these animals. In this case, they were severely injured, but regardless, it puts the kittens in a really extraordinarily difficult position. We received a concern when this happened, and we connected with the places nearby and asked them to keep an eye out for any kittens that might be found at a future date.
Coulter says that people can have their cats spayed and neutered, which would help slow the population. Police have released this photo that you're looking at here of the vehicle, and they ask anyone who may have seen the incident or recognize that car to give them a call. Windsor-Tecumseh MP Eric Kuzmarchuk announced $5.5 million for 2 new affordable housing developments today, one in Windsor and the other in Kingsville.
We are proud partners of both of these critical projects because we believe everyone deserves an opportunity to succeed. More affordable housing is critical to ensure that more Canadians have access to housing that meets their needs and they can afford.
I made the announcement in front of a large pit where the 10-story Meadowbrook Lane development will eventually stand. This funding coming from the federal and provincial government. It's in addition to a combined $38 million already committed to the project by all 3 levels of government. Now, that development will contain 145 new units. 41 of them will be affordable and 46 will be accessible. The total budget for the project is $51 million, expected to be complete by summer of 2022. Kuzmarchuk also announced over $350,000 for the construction of 4 new affordable, accessible, and supportive housing units for youth with intellectual disabilities in Kingsville. And for the first time in Windsor's history, an all-candidates meeting was held virtually.
The questions will be asked through chat and will be randomly chosen. Please direct your chat question to a particular candidate who will have 1 minute to answer.
The Canadian Federation of University Women Windsor brought together 11 of the 12 Ward 7 candidates last night for a debate on Zoom. The candidates all were given time for opening and closing remarks, and they were given 2 minutes each to answer 3 questions. Most of the issues brought up by the candidates included homelessness, affordable housing, the opioid crisis, and issues facing Ward 7 residents.
So the most pressing issue in Ward 7 is that infrastructure hasn't kept up with growth, therefore is a major reason why we're flooding. In 2018, the city applied for $32.1 million and received that in level 1 at DMAF. It's a grant that provides the city an opportunity to recoup 40% of flood mitigation project costs to offset $90 million planned projects in Riverside.
The by-election is scheduled for October 5th at the WFCU Centre. Well, the show must go online. The University of Windsor's theatre department is partnering up with a theatre company in Toronto and 4 playwrights. They're going to be producing live shows presented over Zoom.
So as you know, the theater industry is changing right now. There's a lot of limitations on the theater industry, and right now here at the university we've got limitations on our sizes of groups, and we're pivoting to a digital season for university players for the fall. We are stepping into this stream and we are helping to revolutionize this industry by creating a type of performance that has never existed before now.
This is all very new, right? And it's kind of just trying to see what we can do with it. And I think it's a challenge. And it'll come with its own challenges per individual as well. But I think it's exciting, and it's something we've never done before. Everything is so uncertain in the theater world, and being able to learn and grow and adapt continuously every day and be a part of that is so crucial to where we will be after school and where we are headed towards, and whatever this world may be.
I think it's so exciting that theater gets to be performed on what I'm looking at as a new stage, really. It's a digital stage. It's a new platform. But the liveness of it will still be there, and the crackling nature of that back and forth will still be alive. So even if you're like, oh, I don't want to see any theater until it's up on a real stage, and that's going to be, that's my theater. I think that you're going to come and you're going to be pleasantly surprised at what is possible within this digital medium.
And the plays are going to touch on themes that are relevant in the world today, including COVID-19, the Black Lives Matter movement, and other social justice issues. Well, did you age a few years last night during the wonderfully exciting Raptors game?
Backing in. Kyle, 33 points fading away. North Philly's finest.
Game 6 was about as dramatic as it can get. The Raptors facing playoff elimination. They beat the Boston Celtics double overtime, which means there will be a Game 7. Winner moves on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Loser is going to get kicked out of the bubble. With a huge game on Friday, you need a big screen to watch it on. Do you remember the Jurassic Park Championship experience at Charles Clark Square? Well, the organizers of those events are hosting a watch party at Turbo Espresso in downtown Windsor. You have to register in advance and follow COVID-19 guidelines, so you're going to want to bring a mask. But they're also going to have some screens set up outside.
If you would have told me that the Raptors would be playing at Disney World in front of, an LED wall and 2 teams with 0 fans, and that we'd be watching this in September, not in June, I would have said you were nuts. But of course, the world has changed, and I think we all adjust to the change. And I think what this does is it gives everyone an opportunity to forget about all the negative and all the bad things that are just happening around us. And for an hour and a half, 2 hours, people will be focused on Game 7 and the Raptors, and hopefully nothing else.
As we head to break here, another look at what the first day of school was like for some of the students, parents, and staff in Windsor-Essex. You can see the masks on people's faces, a lot different from what it used to be. Colette Kennedy joins us next. She's got the full forecast. Joining us now for a live look at the weather is Colette Kennedy. The sun not really shining today, but it is shining on Raptors fan. What a win last night. Eh?
Woo! Was it ever double OT? Yes. Game 7.
Game 7. Big Game 7. You feeling good about it?
I am feeling good about it.
That's good.
I was feeling good about Game 6. So
You were, yeah.
here we go. Yep. Yep. Now, the weather I'm feeling good about, too, I have to tell you, because finally, we're going to break out of this pattern that we've been in. The jet stream has not been helping us out. We've had this deep trough and the temperatures that look like this, which are just not that favorable, well below seasonal. So we're still sitting just in these upper teens, 18 at least for Chatham-Kent, 17 at the moment in Windsor. And that trough has just been feeding. Most, at least the heavier rain, has been staying to the north of us, but still into the cloud cover. And we'll finally be breaking out of this. High pressure is going to be moving in. The jet stream going a little bit more zonal, but to see this batch of heavier rains pushing across Lake Michigan at the moment, and there's that kind of trough that's still been carrying in each system after system and then keeping us into the cloud cover. That is what's going to be going more zonal. This might make you feel a little bit better in terms of what's going on. Maybe our temperatures are a bit on the cool side, but see this clearing that they're getting here into northern Ontario and starting to carve out that cloud deck. Well, that clearing is allowing some of the colder air. I mean, a couple of mornings ago, it was in Saskatchewan that they had those record lows, I mean century-old lows that were broken because they were sub-zero. Well, some of that colder air working its way in. So the forecast low tonight, Parry Sound, going right down to freezing. Some of those temperatures may even drop below. And so a frost advisory in place into portions of northern Ontario where they're going to see some of those cooler temperatures. So we're not contending with that, just showing you that. It will start to work its way to us as we get into fall. We are not there yet. So we're just talking about the clouds kind of clearing out, finally eroding, setting us up as high pressure finally builds in and setting us up with sunshine as we go into the day, not only for Friday, Saturday starting off nicely as well. It'll be late day Saturday. Clouds will start to increase. Might see some showers developing Saturday night, overnight, and lingering into Sunday morning, and then hopefully clearing out again so that the latter part of Sunday might look a little bit better as well. Overnight tonight, there are lows 10 to 12 degrees throughout the area. Tomorrow afternoon, looking so much better. So much to look forward to. It's Friday for one thing, and then sun and some nicer temperatures, Chris, too, as we are going into the weekend. Looking at highs in the mid-20s. We've been pushing a little bit above seasonal for a change, but there are those showers coming in Saturday night into Sunday. And like I said, the timing right now looks like it might kick back out for the last bit of the weekend to enjoy some of that.
Okay, something to keep an
Friday
eye on.
night.
The Friday night, that's the big game. That's the big game. And
never mind what the weather is. You're going to be watching that game.
No, it'll be exciting. It'll be exciting. Also exciting is to see that the fog is here, sure, but the frost you've managed to keep away from us. And very happy. Thank you on behalf of all of Windsor-Essex for that. For now.
Yes.
Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Now, coming up, we are going to take a look at the fires, the wildfires that are raging across the United States. That's next. Wildfires are raging all along the west coast of the United States, from Southern California and into Washington state. Hundreds of thousands of hectares have been burned, thousands of homes and other buildings destroyed. At least 7 people have died in the past 24 and 48 hours. There are 200 wildfires burning across the western states, being fed by high winds and extremely dry conditions. Oregon is taking the hardest hit. Several communities, they've just been leveled. The governor says that the state could be facing, quote, its greatest ever loss of life. Now, in Washington state, nearly 240,000 hectares have burned. In California, 28 major fires have more than 60,000 people under evacuation orders. Now, smoke from the fires also a major problem. In San Francisco, the noon sky was turned to an orange dusk, and the smoke is drifting as far north as Vancouver and Victoria. Officials in Quebec are concerned about a spike in COVID-19 cases in the province. Starting Saturday, they're going to hand out fines to people who refuse to wear masks when required. Premier Francis Legault says it is a minority of people who are not following the rules.
We cannot accept that a few irresponsible people put all Quebec at risk. It's time to penalize them.
Authorities will target regions classified as yellow under the government's color-coded COVID-19 alert system. Quebec is looking at the possibility of imposing fines for failing to follow other public health recommendations as well, like physical distancing. And the Premier of Ontario also concerned about coronavirus rule breakers. Today, Doug Ford called the quarantine system broken because federal health officers are not charging enough people who ignore self-isolation orders. He says that police in his province have uncovered more than 600 violations, yet very few people have been reprimanded.
You know, we can't have our police running around and seeing people breaking quarantine and nothing happens to them, a slap on the wrist. It turns into be a joke. So I'm going to work with the federal government and we'll get that turned around.
Since the end of March, an emergency order has required most people arriving from outside Canada to isolate themselves for 14 days, even if they don't have symptoms. Federal quarantine officers can lay charges with penalties of up to 6 months in jail and fines of $750,000. Police, they can also issue tickets of up to $1,000. It's 6:29 p.m. and that is it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor, a full write-up on what that first day of school looked like for kids, staff, and parents across Windsor-Essex. We're on social media too. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for CBC Windsor on those platforms. Power and politics, that's what's up next. We're going to join that already in progress. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you and your family have a good night tonight.